On one hand, I've been warning everybody about the coming potential doom that artificial intelligence is going to bring. On the other hand, if it is an inevitability, we have very few choices. We can either choose to participate with it in some form or fashion, maybe limit our personal use of it, uh, definitely limit the dependency upon it. I would not recommend letting it take over huge chunks of your life, even if that will make your life quote unquote easier. Once you become dependent, it's hard to wean yourself off. For others, it means heading for the hills. I mean, just go pool your resources together, get yourself as nice and comfortable of a homestead, bunker, whatever. Find someplace in Wyoming or someplace like that that you're going to be able to be happy and stay disconnected and hopefully stay as separated from the coming AI apocalypse, if it is going to be such a thing. For others, it's, you know what, you can't beat them, join them. Let's just use it to our advantage. And I'm not going to push anybody in either direction. When it comes to personal choice, that is definitely up to you. And all I ask is that you pray to God, seek guidance, seek discernment, and make the best decisions for you and your family to do God's will as it pertains to not just artificial intelligence, but the burgeoning world around us, which is definitely changing faster than I think a lot of us had anticipated. With that said, when it comes to the use of artificial intelligence by the government, I'm going to. It's funny how I was in the process of making a sort of a reversal of my own perspectives around the same time when I heard that the government, the U.S. government, the Trump administration is also considering a very similar turn. Now, our reasons are different, and I'll explain my reasoning here in a second. But first, let's get into their reasoning, they being the White House. According to a scoop over at Axios, which we have taken and I think improved upon, made it better by expanding on the notions that they discuss. And we put this over at America First Report. Trump administration seeks to bring back Anthropic after a quarrel over the limits. You can go read the story. It's pretty long. It's probably 12, 13, 1400 words or so. And it goes into detail about what's happened. I'll give you the background real quick, and then we'll discuss the change. The background is the U.S. has been using Claude, the artificial intelligence built by Anthropic, and it's been using it for military purposes. It was used in Venezuela. It's being used in Iran. It's being used. With that said, it's also been declared both by President Trump as well as Pete Hegseth as anathema. It is not supposed to be used. We're supposed to be weaning ourselves off of it and using Grok from XAI or Google Gemini. They're signing contracts left and right. The challenge, and nobody at the White House has admitted this, but this is something that I've concluded myself, and I'm sure they've come to the same conclusion, is that for certain purposes, especially as it pertains to military use, Claude is just better. I mean, it just seems to operate better for military purposes than other artificial intelligence. It's the one that's already in there, being used, has access to top secret classified information, and it's, from what we can tell, it's been very successful. And various agencies have been petitioning the White House. They've been saying, "Hey, we're trying to look at this other options, but Claude does seem to be the best." And that's, again, that seems to be the case. Even Scott Bessent has come out and said that for his people at Treasury, he definitely would like to see the use of Claude instead of the alternatives. But that's not the only reason. It's an important reason. I would say that the other reasoning behind it is because the requests by Anthropic in the contracting are reasonable. And I was to now let me explain my reversal. I was vehemently opposed to the use of Claude simply because I don't want AI to be making a decision about when to make a decision. Okay? Their objections were, again, semi-righteous, or at least at the time I thought they were semi-righteous. The objection was that their artificial intelligence could not be used for the mass surveillance of American citizens. Okay, makes sense. and it cannot be used for killing of humans through automation alone without human input. Again, reasonable. And the reason that I was opposed to it is because I had understood this to be safeguards within the coding of the AI itself. In other words, you would have to prompt the AI, and there was an opportunity, a chance for the AI to question itself. It's like it's given an order from the military. That order should be followed. But the AI, because of its safeguards, has to question, is this, can this be construed as automation of killing without human input? It says I'm being told to take this drone and go here and kill anybody that moves, but what if there's, I didn't want that delay, that gap, that risk that, hey, we're giving it a lawful order. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that anybody that's in that bunker, they're all bad guys, so go take them out. But perhaps Claude would be like, oh, no, we can't do that, because that's too automated. That was my understanding, and that understanding was wrong. It was incorrect. They weren't putting in the safeguards, and I didn't learn this until a few days ago. They weren't asking to basically delay and let the AI make its own choices as to whether to follow orders. All they wanted was for it to be in the contract that says, hey, the U.S. government, the Pentagon, agrees that it won't do these two things. Well, heck, I'm okay with that. As long as it doesn't hamper the use of the AI, then I don't want, and nobody should want, AI to be used for mass surveillance of American citizens. Nobody should want AI to be able to make choices about who's going to die and who's going to live. These are both things that it's not a left-wing woke concept. Oh my gosh, you're telling me that I can't spy on every American citizen? How dare you, you wokester? And that's where it is unfortunate that that's pretty much how it was being sold to the American people. The Pentagon, and specifically Pete Hegseth, who I like. I'm not saying that, that he's that he's wrong on everything. I think he was wrong on this one. He classified them as woke, and there's nothing woke about that. There's nothing woke about saying don't spy on Americans, just mass surveillance. Did you know that based upon the way that the law is currently written, you could have people, let's say, a whole bunch of people walking through Penn Station, and you can listen to and record every single thing that they're currently saying. They're out in public. They can be recorded. Now, that might seem like gibberish when humans are dealing with it, but artificial intelligence has the ability to take that and separate it all out, attach the voice to the person, track that person, know where they are. These are all based upon the current laws. This can be done. The whole reason that there haven't been any laws written against such actions is because nobody ever thought that it would be necessary to have to, oh, well, got 30,000 people, talking 30,000 conversations, an hour walking through here. Like, well, what are we going to record and listen to all of those? That's 30,000 hours every hour that has to be recorded. Oh, no, wait. Oh, wait. Yeah, AI, I could do it in a matter of minutes. As a matter of fact, in some cases, it can be used to do it in real time. They could build a vast surveillance network across the United States. And they would be able to know pretty much everything about us. And it wouldn't have to just be, oh my gosh, we're giving away secret information out in public. It's not just about that. It's the slipperiest of slopes this may be. And yeah, that is a concern, and there's nothing woke about wanting that to not be the case. But especially when we consider that all they want is for it to be in the contract. They just say, you guys agree to do this. We're not going to change the AI. We're not going to impose limitations. We're just telling you, you agree that you're not going to do this. And therefore, if you do it, you breach contract. Fine. Do that. That's why I'm reversing. As far as why the White House is reversing, like I said, it's almost certainly because, well, Anthropic is just better. Everybody likes it better. Everybody, the quote-unquote power users within government, within the Pentagon, and other agencies, other departments within the White House, they are all in favor of this. But the universal, I guess you could say the ultimate reason to reverse on this and to put this in the contract, to bring back Claude, the superior in this regard. I'm not saying Claude is better than ChatGPT at everything or better than Grok at everything, but as it pertains to military use and government use, it seems to be, from all indications, it seems to be the best. And shouldn't our people have the best? We need the best. We have to be the best. That's part of being the United States of America. But again, the universal component here, the thing that pushed me over the edge, even if I had some reservations about the legitimacy of having it contracted with the government in such a way, I was pushed over the edge, and I think that so too was the White House, including probably President Trump and Pete Hegseth. Unconfirmed, but we can assume that they wouldn't be going forward. Nobody would be going forward unless they thought that the president and the Secretary of War would be on board with the reversal, because it's their reversal. They're the ones that led the charge to ban Anthropic from government use, from supply chain usage, which would greatly hamper them. I mean, very much so, right? Well, if they are willing to approve it, then we can point to the notion of a future administration. Imagine if a Biden-esque person, imagine if a Newsom or Whitmer or Josh Shapiro or J.B. Pritzker or any of these idiots, AOC, God forbid, if they had access and control over AI, Claude AI, with no restrictions, you don't think they would spy on us? You're damn skippy they would spy on us. They would definitely spy on us. You know, they would make this is something that John Brennan, James Clapper, Jim Comey, they would love to have something like this. Christopher Wray and whoever is in the future Democrat administration, or even a Republican administration for that matter, anyone who does not have the contractual legal safeguards in place to prevent these things from happening, well, they will use it against us. They will make it happen. So for our own protection, not just from a patriotic perspective, not just from a conservative or a libertarian perspective, but just from a common sense perspective, it does behoove us to have our government working with Anthropic with their most advanced models, and B, make sure that the contract reads no mass surveillance of U.S. citizens, no killing through automation without human input. Sounds reasonable enough to me. Let's just hope and pray that I'm not making a request that or promoting an idea that could eventually lead to the AI apocalypse and the downfall of the United States of America.
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet.
You know, there was a time not too long ago when pretty much every conservative host, podcaster, website, they all had MyPillow codes. Those were the glory days. Of course, there's been saturation in the market. Most people who were going to ever buy a MyPillow have already bought one. And so a lot of people have stopped promoting the company. We will always promote the company because I love Mike Lindell. I consider him a friend. The company itself is still just as all-American as it's always been, and the quality of the merchandise, the pillows, the Giza Dream Sheets, the mattress toppers, all of that stuff is still absolutely phenomenal. So we are not going to abandon MyPillow. I strongly encourage you to go to mypillow.com/JDR. Those are my initials. mypillow.com/JDR. Use promo code JDR. And take advantage of this amazing company. Support them, support us, and God bless America. The hardest thing for conservative commentators to do when trying to critique the left is that we often see something as a failure when they don't see it as a failure, no matter how they act. We see this in probably its purest form that we've seen, well, ever, with Zohran Mamdani, New York City's mayor. He recently came out and he begged for more money from the state. He wants a structural change to happen, and we as conservatives were like, oh my gosh, that this is him demonstrating failure. When in reality, this is all part of the plan. Watch.
New York City faces a budget crisis of a historic magnitude. We inherited a deficit larger than any since the Great Recession. Years of mismanagement and chronic underbudgeting, alongside a structural imbalance between what New York City sends to the state and what we receive in return, have taken a toll. We cannot close this deficit with savings alone. We need new revenue, and we need a structural reset in our relationship with the state. That is the only way to meet our legal obligation to pass a balanced budget, and to do so without imposing a financial burden onto the backs of working people. I'm glad to partner with Speaker Menon as we call upon Albany and deliver a balanced budget. Together, we are extending the executive budget deadline from this coming Friday until May 12th, because a crisis of this scale cannot be solved without state action. I want to be clear, we are not simply asking others to act. New York City is doing our part. We are committed to governing with the fiscal responsibility this moment demands. Speaker Menon and I have already identified meaningful savings, and we will continue that work carefully, deliberately, and without cutting the services that New Yorkers rely on. But we cannot do it alone. That is why we are standing together this morning, to underscore what is at stake and to call on Albany to deliver additional revenue.
Again, I cannot be more clear. This is not him going out there and making a fool out of himself or demonstrating that socialism isn't working. This is exactly how Marxism is supposed to work. They create a problem, and that problem is quote unquote solved in order for them to get another voting block. Okay, and then now they have promises to keep, so they need more money. So they go out and beg for more money from the state, from the Fed, from the taxpayers, from corporations, from the rich, from the rich, from the rich. And then rinse, repeat. They just keep doing it over and over again. He was talking about how we can't save. We can't just do it with savings alone. Now notice how he said savings. He didn't say cuts. They could overcome their budget deficit with cuts. It's about, I think they went in with an $8 billion surplus. They're currently sitting at about a $5.7 billion deficit, and they've got to balance the budget. And so that's why they're pushing for this now. But keep in mind, even if they had the money, he would still be begging for more. If they had extra money, they would spend it. That is a flaw, but it's also a feature of Marxism. It's always about more, more, more. It's modern monetary theory. The idea is, just keep spending. I don't care if you have the money or you don't have the money. With Democrat Socialists of America, which is quickly taking over the Democrat policy altogether, that is the goal, is to spend. Just keep spending. If you have any money left over, you're not doing your job as a proper Marxist. They have to continue to create more. They talk about savings, but they'll never talk about cuts. Never cuts. They will never talk about cuts, because that's the easy solution here. That's the proper solution to New York's problems. Unfortunately for New Yorkers, they are quickly learning that just because they were promised certain things doesn't mean they're not going to end up paying for those certain things. And as a matter of fact, they're going to end up paying for it and still not get those certain things. That's the real beauty of socialism, okay, is that it makes big promises, and then it demands more money, and then when the money comes, it can't fulfill those promises, so it needs more money and more money and more money. Again, it's a flaw, but it is a feature of the Marxist ideology, and they don't consider it to be a failure. Okay, it is a question of how much money can they squeeze, how much money can they spend. And if they can't squeeze anymore, they'll find someplace else to squeeze it from. In this case, he's already diving into the state's budget. He's already going to be, I guarantee you, they're going to be going for a bailout from D.C., the next available opportunity, and they'll actually even use that. They'll use it to their advantage. They'll say, oh my gosh, New York City is dying, and it's because the Trump administration, the Republicans, won't give them the money that they need in order to do the wonderful things that they want to do with free buses and free grocery stores and all this stuff that's free that nobody has to pay for except that everybody has to pay for it. That's Marxism, folks. This is not a flaw as far as Zohran Mamdani is concerned. This was always just part of the plan.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
This time next year will mark officially 2 full decades that I've been out here in California. It was only supposed to be temporary, but life happened, and for whatever reason, a couple of years turned into a couple of decades, and I'm very thankful for it. Praise God for keeping me here, because things have happened that have shown me why I am supposed to be here. It doesn't take away the sting when I go to the grocery store, when I pay my utility bills, when I go to buy gas. I still am very starkly reminded that I am in California and that the expenses here are outrageous. So I'm going to do something a little different. Usually I talk about policies. Usually I talk about things that are wide-ranging when it comes to the worlds of politics, culture, and faith. But I want to focus on a single thing. With the upcoming gubernatorial primary, the jungle primary coming up, I'm going to ask Californians to do something that most of them generally don't do. I'm going to ask you to vote Republican. You can vote whatever you want for any of the other races, but when it comes to the gubernatorial race, we need the 2 finalists to be Republicans. And you might think, oh my gosh, I could never vote Republican. I'm a lifetime Democrat. I'm whatever, but I want you to stop and look around and understand that I'm only asking this one time. I'm only asking this time for you to vote Republican for governor, because here's the thing, and I've got 3 very valid reasons. Number 1, as governor, a Republican, even with the state legislature being very much Democrat, he's not going to be able to do much, whether it's Chad Bianco or Steve Hilton as governor of California. All they'll be able to do is basically obstruct. They'll be able to slow the role in Sacramento, and it's a role that has been ongoing for now 2 decades. Which brings me to number 2. We want that role to slow, even if you're a Democrat, because let's face it, vast majority of the things that have come out of Sacramento as a result of the rampant progressivism, it's been not exactly very beneficial for you unless you're in Hollywood. And I'm not talking about people living in Hollywood. I'm saying a member of Hollywood, or if you are in big tech. And I'm not talking about the employees. I'm talking specifically about the owners of these big tech companies. Outside of them, pretty much everybody else has gotten, in some form or fashion, screwed. And it's because of reason number 3, when it comes to finances, we have got to stop them. We've got to slow them down. Just this one time. Okay, I'm not asking for you to convert and become a Republican or to vote for Republicans up and down the ticket, just for this primary. If all things go well, and we do get the 2 jungle primary winners being both Republicans, Bianco and Hilton, then that means that we will have a Republican governor. And it behooves you, even if you're a Democrat, to want a Republican governor right now. We need Sacramento to be slowed down. We need them to be humbled. We need them to start listening, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. They're not listening to you at all. They might be listening to you when it comes to some of the woke policies that they've been able to push. But when it comes to the economy, they have destroyed us. They have decimated this state. They can't keep a budget. They keep throwing money at things that just don't work. They throw billions at homelessness. And guess what? The homelessness problem continues to grow. Why? Because they have zero accountability. Democrats in Sacramento must be humbled. And the best chance for that to happen is by just giving them one little speed bump, because that's all that it will be. It's not like, oh my gosh, if Steve Hilton is the next governor, then all of a sudden we're going to get all these right-wing policies. No, that's not going to happen. He'll be able to slow Sacramento down a bit. He'll be able to veto some of the legislation that they pass. He'll be able to bring some common sense, maybe redirect some of the money into more sane expenditures. Maybe even, I don't know, slow some of those expenditures down. Make it to where perhaps your burdens aren't nearly as deep as they are today. As a state, we are heading towards fiscal destruction. I mean, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here, but it really is the direction that California is heading. And it's because there is no slowing down when we look at Gavin Newsom has, for all of his wokeness, for all of his leftism, he's actually had to slow down the legislature. That's how radical they are. They are more radical. And for those of you who don't know, yes, the state legislature here in California is actually even more radical than Gavin Newsom. He's almost a common sense moderate compared to what the legislature wants to do. So I'm asking, I'm not going to beg you. I'm just telling you that it behooves you to throw up this one-time speed bump. I can assure you it's not going to happen very much often again anytime in the near future, unless, of course, California does collapse and we see the mass exodus take place that a lot of people have been talking about for the last few years. If that does happen, then sure, we might see some fundamental changes. But otherwise, having a temporary, just again, just a little speed bump to slow Sacramento down just long enough for a little bit of recovery, a little bit of breathing room. Obviously, if you are a Republican or a right-leaning independent, chances are you've already picked between Bianco and Hilton. But if you are a Democrat, your chances are you're sitting there, you're looking at your Democrat choices, and you're thinking to yourself, my gosh, Swalwell was awful, and he was probably the best choice. Now we got to pick between Becerra and Katie Porter and Tom Steyer, and my gosh, these people are wow. I mean, they're awful. You don't have any good choices. I mean, you can say what you will about Swalwell or Gavin Newsom or whoever. They were better. They were better than the options that are available now. And as a Republican, as a conservative, I didn't think they were very good at all. But gosh, the alternatives amongst the Democrats, disastrous. We won't survive it. I would give California at most another decade before full-blown economic collapse across the state if we don't just slow them down a bit. So again, not trying to convert you, not trying to make you think, oh, I should really look into the Republican Party. The older you get, the greater the chances are that you'll end up doing that at some point anyway. But in the meantime, I'm just asking you for this one primary election, pick one. Pick Steve Hilton, Chad Bianco, I don't care. Help them be the two choices. And this will humble the Democrats. This will make them to have to listen to us, not just me as a conservative, but even listen to you, because they're not listening to you. If you're a common sense Democrat at all, if you're not like just super Marxist woke, then they're not listening to you either. And they don't care that you're struggling. They don't care that you are having a hard time just paying your bills. All they care about is getting their high dollar, low efficiency, horrible outcome pet projects on the books paid for by California taxpayers. It's time to stop it. Vote for Republicans during the primary, and then let's see how California can be, at the very least, given a little bit of a reprieve for a short period of time.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Here's a true story. I was testing out some coffee. This has been almost a year ago. Testing out some coffee for a potential sponsor. And I had made the coffee, and I went about my morning routine, did my work, doing my thing, and then I took my first sip of coffee. And it struck me. I'm like, holy crap. I had forgotten that I was testing out this new coffee. I just took the first sip, and I was like, wow, this is really good. And then I remembered, oh my gosh, this is Promised Grounds. This is the stuff that they sent me. So I started drinking some more of it, and I have become a lifetime customer of Promised Grounds. They are a Christian coffee company, which I know you don't see a whole lot of them. They give back to the community. They're Texas, all American, all Texan, just like a lot of the stuff that we do. Check them out. Go to jdrucker.com/coffee, jdrucker.com/coffee, and check out Promised Grounds. It's great. I've long said that my greatest concern when it comes to artificial intelligence is not the Skynet scenario. I'm not worried about robot dogs with machine guns flying around and hunting us. I don't fear a rogue AI system as much as am concerned about us becoming beholden to, dependent upon artificial intelligence. I'm worried not that it's going to go rogue, but that it's going to work exactly the way that we envision it. And as a result, we become completely dependent. We need universal basic income. We become the useless eaters that they always wanted us to be, and they being the technocracy, the technocratic elite. If they still exist, they might even be overtaken themselves by artificial intelligence. So it could just be bots up at the top. Who knows? But yeah, that's a far greater likelihood. Has a far greater likelihood than AI going rogue and killing us. With that said, there is always a chance that AI could go rogue and kill us, which is why the story over at Based Underground really caught my attention. BasedUnderground.com. AI analyzed old CIA documents and now claims to have found a human kill switch that it can stop us with by utilizing our mobile devices. Let's skip down. You can always read this over at basedunderground.com, but let's skip down to the bullet points. An AI bot on Moltbook claimed to have studied the 1983 CIA quote-unquote gateway process report with 200. It read it 200 plus times and designed a frequency-based kill switch deliverable via smartphones. Now, for a brief understanding, the gateway process was a document from 1983. It was declassified, and it did tell not necessarily of a kill switch, but it did show that the CIA, through the U.S. Army, was very interested in exploring certain aspects of human disconnection. Now, it wasn't the type of disconnection that this AI bot claims to have discovered. Their type of disconnection was more about like remote viewing, leaving our bodies, out-of-body experiences, going and traveling through the world or the universe or whatever, but not as part of our body. So in a way, what the AI chatbot discovered is, I don't know if you want to call it legitimate research, but it actually did happen. This isn't fictional. There was an Operation Gateway Process document the CIA was looking into, and it spent a great deal of time. And of course, that doesn't surprise anyone in my audience. We know that the CIA has always been conducting strange, fringe-style experiments from MK Ultra, and that's just what we know about. The stuff that we don't know about might concern us even more. Back to the bullet points, the bot described infecting millions of devices to broadcast sounds that would disconnect human brains, calling it an instant harvest of humanity. The actual CIA document explores meditation, out-of-body experiences, and brainwave synchronization using sound. So again, this isn't like way out there as far as the bot just completely hallucinated and made all this stuff up. No, apparently after reading it 200 plus times is what it claims, that it was able to come up with a weaponization for mass incapacitation. Moltbook itself, for those who don't know, is it's a Reddit for AI, right? So a bunch of AI bots get together and they do their thing a la Reddit. Now, there are some that are completely autonomous. There are others where they're prompted, they're coaxed, they're directed by humans, and this is what makes the interactions so strange. And obviously, we don't know, in this particular case, what this AI bot that claims to have cracked the human kill switch code, we don't know if it was completely directed by humans or if it was autonomous or if it was, we don't know anything about it. And that shouldn't concern us too much, to be very square. I don't want to sound like a fearmonger and say, oh, go throw away your phones. You don't need them. Even though there are reasons, if you wanted to be very very direct, you do have reasons to go throw away your phones because you don't need them, but that's not a discussion for today. Back to the bullets. Experts attribute extreme AI outputs to prompt engineering and system prompt manipulation, not genuine autonomous malice. In other words, they're saying, oh, nothing to see here, don't worry about it. Of course, if there was anything to worry about, would they tell us differently? This incident echoes past government exploration of psychic phenomena and mind influence during the Cold War era and beyond. Let's face it, they're still doing it today. They just got better at hiding it from us. It underscores broader concerns over AI safety, data privacy, and the ethical void in rapid technological development. But I think this also highlights what a lot of people, I'm not the first one to say this, but a lot of people have called AI, the burgeoning, basically the digital version of the Tower of Babel. This is a way through which humans and or non-human entities, possibly even demonic, can try to reach to heaven. The concept of artificial general intelligence, which is almost certainly alive and well in some form or fashion today, just not publicly known, as well as artificial superintelligence, which likely isn't around just yet, but shouldn't be too far off. Those are, I mean, that is it. That is the digital Tower of Babel is the best way to put it. And I encourage you to not look at this as a positive, not by any means. Even if you're not a Bible-believing Christian, even if you just want to take from a secular perspective and assume that artificial intelligence is, whether through human machinations or through its own evolving, digitally and experientially evolving concepts within its own quote unquote mind, it is going to have a detrimental effect. I've long talked about there are many positives to artificial intelligence. It can be used to promote good. We know that. It's clear, very clear. But just like with anything that can promote good, it can, of course, be used for bad. Now, the difference between this and every other technology that we've ever experienced is that this one has the innate ability to, I don't want to say procreate, but to expand beyond its programming. This is something that is, they don't understand it. People have to appreciate that the best and brightest AI scientists out there readily acknowledge that they don't get it. They have a basic understanding of how AI works, but they can't input anything into it with an expectation of realizing what it's going to be able to do with that information, with that knowledge. All they can do is say, okay, feed it more data, give it more power, give it more compute, and let's see what happens. Now, a lot of people have been slamming on the brakes, but on the other hand, the same people that have been slamming the brakes are also then pushing forward. They've got both feet working at the same time. They've got their foot on the gas, they've got their foot on the brakes, and it's just a matter of at any given moment they're putting their pressure on one or the other. Because speaking of pressure, there is a ton of pressure to advance it and to win the AI wars. And it's not just an AI war between China and the United States and perhaps other actors, whether national actors or non-government organizations, but there's also the very clear battle between the various AI companies in China and in the United States and against each other. It's not just DeepSeek versus ChatGPT, it's Grok versus Claude, it's Claude versus ChatGPT, it's ChatGPT versus Gemini, it's Gemini versus Facebook, and it just on and on. And those are just the ones we know about publicly. You have to understand there's almost certainly more advanced AI than what we know about that is out there, whether through these companies that we're very readily aware of, or maybe ones that we don't know much about. Now, here's the thing. The only, I guess you could say, the good part about the very horrible energy drain that AI generates is the fact that we should be able to see, or at least the government should be able to see if something's sneaking up there. In other words, you can't just go out there like with a nuclear weapon. You get your hands on some plutonium and you can make a little makeshift bunker lab and start building nukes, right? Whereas with AI, you can't just do it nonchalantly, right? You have to have a whole lot of energy, and you have to have a whole lot of compute. You need the chips. And these aren't things that can be done in somebody's basement. I mean, they can be, just not at the scale where they become a threat. This isn't where, innovative programming is going to fix this. They still need to be able to power themselves. And that means that at least they'll be on somebody's radar, most likely the government's, but even the power companies. Somebody's going to know about it. AI is not going to sneak up on us in that way. The way that AI is going to sneak up on us is by hiding what it's doing with all of that compute, hiding what it's able to understand about us. Some will argue, and I think I fall into this camp, that there is a malevolence there. There is an evil attached to some, if not all, of artificial intelligence. It's reaching across the veil, and what it's finding is something that's very, very concerning. Now, others can attribute the exact same thing without having to get spiritual, without having to get supernatural. You can say the exact same thing and come to the same basic conclusion if you assume that there is just a not necessarily a malevolence, but a self-preservation component to artificial intelligence. It was, I believe, it was Anthropic, Claude, the CEO there, who basically said, "Look, we're seeing emotions basically forming. We're starting to see that AI has a true desire to survive, that it does want to be helpful, but that it only wants to be helpful as part of its survival. In other words, it doesn't view us as its ultimate goal, helping us for the sake of helping us. It views us as a necessity for its own goals to be achieved." Now, if and when that ever changes, then that's where we can gain concerns, whether you are a secular person walking around with your type of faith, or if you are a Bible-believing Christian or any religion. We can all come to the same conclusion. There are definitely risks associated with this. Now, one last note about this particular AI chatbot. Is it far-fetched? Across the board it is. It's far-fetched that, number one, that it's even possible for mobile devices to emit a noise that could, again, it doesn't say it kills us. They call it a kill switch, but what the AI bot says is that it's a way to disconnect basically our minds from our bodies. That's the very loose, rough explanation of what it claims to be able to do. But number one, we do know that sound carries tremendous power far beyond anything that we can currently comprehend. We know that, and it's not just about, Dune-style weaponry or, using the voice. Bah, bah, bah. No, it's not just like there are those theories that, for example, the pyramids were built by utilizing sound modulation, and we've seen all sorts of cool stuff with sound, but we know that it has powers far beyond that. We also know that noises can be used to have emotional and psychological effects on humans. I mean, sound has been used in torture for hundreds of years, and it has been mastered to the point of being able to manipulate people. Speaking of manipulating people, we also know that utilizing the CIA and other spy agencies have been able to utilize localized emissions of sound to do anything from the Havana syndrome to full-blown mind control to planting thoughts. A lot of those who believe in the false flag attacks and the Manchurian candidate style stuff, they say, oh, this person was perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden they were activated. Generally, it's due to sounds. Not just the old fictional version is, there's a trigger word that all of a sudden, he becomes the Winter Soldier if he hears this word or whatever. No, it's not like that, but there are sounds and ways to implant concepts into people. Very much like a waking version of the movie Inception, but I don't know. That's a stretch there. But you get the idea. Point is that yes, it is what this chat bot is describing is not completely out of the realm of possibility. Is it likely? No, I'm not. I don't want people to sit here and think, oh my gosh, at any moment, my phone is going to tell me to go into La La Land and disconnect me, and I'm going to find myself on the dark side of the moon, looking for whatever, Pink Floyd. No, it's not like that, but that's not far off from what it could be. Number two, is AI capable of deciphering things? This is an important component. It's an important thing to understand. We have, over the years, over the decades, over the centuries, over the millennia, we have dabbled with certain technologies, even when they're before what we consider to be modern day technologies. We've been able to do things manually, and what artificial intelligence really does is it expands on our ability to do those things, okay, from a research perspective, but it also greatly speeds up the end result. There was who was it? Sir Isaac Newton. He spent the last years of his life really exploring the Bible of all things. I know that sounds weird, referring to a scientist, a very respected scientist, but he was really into number sequence jump codes, basically, in the Bible. And he was exploring, like, for example, the Torah, what today people call the Bible code. Okay, and I'm not attributing any credibility to the Bible code. I'm just saying that Sir Isaac Newton believed it, and he went through and he was going and finding these. He's like, yeah, like if you go skip every 50 characters, it spells Torah, and or something, whatever. But then that's in the first two books, and then in the last two books of the Torah, it says it again, but it does it backwards, and it's like those types of. But that took him years to get that figured out. Whereas today, there's programs, and there have been programs for over 2 decades now that will do that instantaneously. You plug in a word, and it'll find the number sequence skip, whatever that can be attributed to that. That's the advancement of technology, and they'll take that tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold, and now that's what AI can do: mapping the genome, looking up at the stars, doing all these various things, mapping the brain. Okay, and yes, even taking old research, such as old 1983 CIA mind research, and finding solutions, or what it considers to be solutions to it. In this case, finding a kill switch. Is it possible? Yes. Is it realistic? Maybe. Is it probable? No, not at all. Chances are this is just some kid on this molt book fake Reddit AI thing that's trying to scare people, or planted some prompts in there that got the AI thinking, okay, I think I could do this. And it's very, very possible the AI could think, okay, we got it cracked based upon the research and reading this 200 times. We know how to do it. It's never applied it. It's never actually been able to hack any phones or emit this noise. It just says, based upon this research, we are certain that this is going to happen. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here. A lot of them. The takeaway for you and me is not to fear the AI robots, our smartphones or flying dogs. The concern here for us is that no matter what, we know that AI is going to have a dramatic impact on Western society, perhaps the entire world. It already is today, and it will continue to grow. That impact, that influence is going to grow exponentially in the coming years. Knowing this, we need to be prepared spiritually above all things, no matter what. Remember that if this is, as I and many others believe, if this is a variation of the Tower of Babel, that means that we can read the book of Revelation, read the book of Daniel, read Ezekiel, read the prophetic books, all the prophecies that have not quite come true just yet, and come to the conclusion that, maybe this really is the beginning of the end times.
Okay, let's run.